Well, it was just last March when 15-time major champion, 82-time PGA Tour winner Tiger Woods became the newest member of the World Golf Hall of Fame when he was inducted at the PGA Tour's headquarters. The ceremony also inducted former PGA Tour Commissioner Tim Finchem, four-time major winner Susie Maxwell, and architect Marion Hollins. Today, the World Golf Hall of Fame released the names of 12 finalists who will be considered for induction in 2024. The finalists include Audrey Harrington, Tom Weiskopf, Johnny Farrell, Jim Furyk, Dottie Pepper, Sandra Palmer, Beverly Hansen, Christy Kerr, and contributors Peter Dawson, Butch Harmon, and Jay Siegel. Rounding out the finalists is 7 remaining co-founders of the LPGA: Alice Bauer, Betty Danoff, Helen Detweiler, Helen Hicks, Opal Hill, Shirley Spork, and Sally Sessions. Before gaining consideration, each finalist met the necessary qualifications in his or her respective category by way of on-course accomplishments or significant contributions to the game of golf. Final selections for the 2024 World Golf Hall of Fame induction class will be announced the week of the players. With more, we're now joined by the CEO of the World Golf Hall of Fame, Greg McLaughlin. Greg, great to see you again. We see the list of the 12 finalists. Curious what went into the selection process.
Good seeing you, George, Eamon. Thanks for having us on today. The selection process is really comprised of a 31-member nominating committee that evaluates all the eligible candidates, and they'll submit an online voting. And then subsequently, we also send each of the 63 remaining living Hall of Fame members, and they'll submit online ballot voting as well. And then we gather together with the nominating committee, which we did on Monday, and they'll basically vote 4 male competitors, 4 female competitors, and 4 contributors. And we think we have really a fabulous list of individuals right now. You'll notice that Padraig, Tom Weiskopf, Johnny Farrell, all finalists for the 2022 induction, as well as Dottie, Sandra Palmer, and Beverly Hansen. So all very deserving and all qualified.
Greg, Hall of Fame debates, disputes, they're kind of part of every sport out there. And in this particular process, is there validity to the criticism that some people ought to be kind of awarded in life rather than death? Tom Weiskopf died 6 months ago at 79, never having received this honor. Beverly Hansen died at 89, 9 years ago. And you go back to Peggy Kirk-Bell. She lived 95 years, but was inducted 3 years after she died. Does the process need to be adjusted in any way to rightly honor deserving members while they're here to actually receive it?
I completely agree with you. It's always better to have a living member, speaking at the event versus not. So I do agree with you. I would tell you that in the last 4 years, we've tried to widen the process more to bring back more of the media members, more people in the golf industry that have history and understand, really the game. And I think that's something that, is important to try and have a wide view. And the nominating committee, as I mentioned, is 31. And we probably had more than 40 of our current members vote on who they thought should be a finalist. And then we have a separate 20-person selection committee comprised of 4 of the members, the board of directors, as well as media members equally as well, that will then pick up to 5 candidates. Clearly, we've got some great candidates. I mean, Tom Weiskopf has been strongly considered, for a number of years, as has Beverly Hansen. And their credentials really go without saying. So I think it's something that we'd like to take a look at. But again, there's always different views on who should get in and whether or not, who's deserving and who isn't deserving. I guess it's one of the things that every Hall of Fame has to deal with.
Greg, how spirited are those conversations behind the scenes when you see someone like a Bernhard Langer or a Phil Mickelson who got in years ago, but then a Tom Weiskopf will be posthumous? The debates, I mean, what are those like as those conversations are unfolding to figure out, okay, if someone's in their 40s or early 50s, they happen to get in, and then some could be later in life?
Yeah, I would say that the conversations are very spirited. And I would think that the members probably have the loudest voices in the room. the competitors that that really competed. And I'll tell you, in our nominating committee, there was a big push from one of the members about the 7 remaining LPGA co-founders, which really weren't on the ballot. They were on the ballot as individuals, but not necessarily as cumulatively one. And they made a compelling argument, and they literally were almost unanimous in their voting in order to be considered and be recognized really by the Hall of Fame. So I would say the voices are loud. Everybody has a feeling and a passion of potentially, who they think should get in and what contributions that they've made to the game. On the competitor side, it's very straightforward. Majors rule. And wins on PGA Tour, DP World Tour, LPGA Tour. I mean, that really drives it pretty hard, and it's very, very black and white. On the contributor side, it becomes very gray, and what the contributions are, because there's so many people that have made so many contributions to the game. And golf is much different than any other sport, really, if you look at the contributors of what they've done, whether they're a teacher, an administrator, potentially a co-founder, a leader of the golf organization, like Tim Fincham's, nearly 25 years and leading the PGA Tour, Marianne Hollins, and the impact that she had on the game. So, generally, I would say that conversations are spirited, but they're all done in, I think, in a good approach about the game. And the great thing about all the people that do serve is they really care about the game and try to carry it forward.
Greg, going back to the 7 LPGA founders who you mentioned, who are collectively gathered as one nominee here rather than on their individual playing records, do you at the Hall of Fame feel it's part of the mission to in some way rectify previous oversights in terms of the history of this game, or correctly honouring people who may have been overlooked unfairly in the past?
Absolutely. I think it's important for us to look back at history and potentially see why someone, didn't get in. And I think it's something that we talk about and the board talks about a lot. Henry Colt is not in. And there's someone that probably is one of the most celebrated golf architects in the world. A lot of discussion really about, having Colt potentially, go in. And I think it's something that it was overlooked. And really, if you think about the impact that, that Harry Colt has had on the game and what he's done in the top 100 golf courses, that's someone arguably that a lot of people, think should be in. And there's others like that, but you have to go through the process. It's a biennial induction ceremony. There's a lot of very deserving people that, gain consideration. So it's the debate that probably continues to go on. But Harry Colt is one example of someone that probably should be in.
Greg, I was a big sports geek growing up, went to Cooperstown for the Baseball Hall of Fame, Springfield, Mass, NBA Hall of Fame, Canton for the NFL Hall of Fame. I've obviously been to the World Golf Hall of Fame. Wondering the 5-year plan for the World Golf Hall of Fame. What's the impetus to spur fan engagement? And is there another sport you look at as a successful template?
Well, the NFL is obviously the 100-pound gorilla and the success that they've had really in their Hall of Fame. So we announced last July that the museum will be moving from St. Augustine as part of the USGA's new campus that they're doing at Pinehurst, and that'll open in June of 2024 as part of the US Open week at Pinehurst. And the focus area there really is going to be more on the lockers and more of a digital presentation than maybe what the current museum that was built in 1997 currently in St. Augustine. And I would say that probably is the most significant change. We're going to continue to do our biennial induction ceremonies with this class in 2024 occurring on Monday of US Open week as part of the new museum opening. And then I think the board's going to look at, is the every other year the right model potentially to do? Are there years, maybe when we go back to back? We looked at it this year as an option, but we had such a tremendous outpouring of support really around Tiger going in. Probably the biggest single moment really since the individuals went in 1974 when they first launched the World Golf Hall of Fame was last March during the Players and the milestone really of recognizing Tiger's great career.
Yeah, Greg, excited for the move to Pinehurst. I think that's going to be great for golf fans.
1 million people come to Pinehurst a year. Weddings, golf. They have the 10th golf course, which is now being built. And USGA's new facility there, I think, is going to be very, very impressive. So we're really honored to be part of that and appreciate the support that Mike won and everyone at the USGA and really supporting the World Golf Hall of Fame.
Well, thanks for sharing the news with us, Greg. We look forward to seeing you in Pinehurst in June of next year to continue the debate about who's there and who's not there.
Thanks again. Appreciate it, guys.
George, where do you stand on the Hall of Fame? This idea of, you know, every sport argues it, every sports fan debates it, who belongs, who doesn't. How close to what it should be is the World Golf Hall of Fame right now, you think?
I think it's trending in the right direction. I think the move to Pinehurst will be huge because that will be somewhat replicable to what we see with baseball in Cooperstown or NFL in Canton. They have the Hall of Fame game. You have the cradle of American golf right there. It's already built in with how many people visit there to play golf. That's the perfect location for the Hall of Fame. I think where golf struggles, and it's inherent in the game, is the lifespan of these players' careers. NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, you have finality when there's retirement.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's a 5-year cooling off period for most sports. And then you can start voting. Major League Baseball, you then have a 15-year window before it would go to the Veterans Committee on if that player is in or out, and you know what percentage of the ballot.
Whereas Padraig Harrington's in the field this week in Honda. It's still going.
Exactly. So you can be a professional and play for 30, 40, even 50 years. So do you honor the guy at 45? Do you wait till he's 60? Then you don't want to wait too long, like what occurred with Tom Weiskopf. And I think if you ask anyone, is Tom Weiskopf a Hall of Famer? They'd say 2 times.
Yeah.
As a player and a golf course architect. So I think that's what makes it such a challenge, is to figure out at the right point of a player's career arc, when do we honor them?
I guess this is what happens when you're in a sport where players, they all say, I'm not going to hang around and be a ceremonial golfer. They all do. And some of them actually remain quite competitive later in their careers. But you look at some guys who've gone in way back in the mists of time, when they're still actually quite active and still competitive in their careers. And to where we are now, where you see the older generation of players who are kind of not getting their due. And to me, it's just kind of sad that Tom Weiskopf died at 79 without being given the honour that it clearly bugged him.
That was a glaring omission.
It really was. And you could make the same case for Peggy Kirkbell. To have lived 95 years and then 3 years after your death to get into the Hall of Fame. It just seems to me that the process needs to be kind of a little more streamlined to honour those who are perhaps on the back 9 of life before they're actually gone, and at least when they're around, to appreciate being honoured for the contribution they made to this game.
Wholeheartedly agree. Hopefully that's something they're able to get dialed in going forward. So we're going to take one more look at the finalists. These are the names on the ballot for 2024, and we will know who is part of that 2024 class at the Players coming up next month. So when Golf Today continues, we at